When I think back to that evening, it feels like a turning point I never saw coming. My life before then had been filled with unspoken words, quiet tension, and the kind of distance that forms between people who share the same house, but aren't sure how to share their hearts. My name is Emily Parker, and I was 16 when everything shifted. My mom, Rebecca, had remarried 2 years earlier after my dad moved to another state for work and eventually decided not to come back. It was heartbreaking at first. He called every so often, but it was never the same. My mom met a man named David, who became my stepfather, and while he was kind and tried hard, I never truly let him in. To me, he was just mom's husband. David was patient, though. He was a history teacher at the local high school, the kind of man who loved telling stories about the past as if he had lived them himself. He fixed things around the house, cooked dinner sometimes, and always asked me about school. But my replies were usually short, the kind of answers that closed doors instead of opening them. It wasn't that I disliked him, I just didn't know how to let another person fill the space my dad had left. That evening started like any other. I was sitting in my room, books spread across the bed, trying to finish an essay that was due the next morning. The house was quiet except for the sound of rain tapping gently against the window. My mom had gone to her sister's for the night to help with a family matter, so it was just David and me at home. I didn't mind because we usually kept to ourselves. He'd be downstairs watching TV or reading, and I'd stay in my room until bedtime. But then I heard a knock on the door. It startled me because I wasn't expecting anyone. Before I could answer, the door creaked open slowly, and David stepped in. He wasn't stern or demanding, he just looked concerned. "Hey, Emily," he said softly. "You've been in here all day. You doing okay?" I wanted to brush him off like I usually did, but something in his tone stopped me. He wasn't just asking about homework or whether I wanted dinner. He was really asking about me. I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just busy." He stepped closer, not in an intrusive way, but carefully, like he was afraid of crossing some invisible line. "I know school can get stressful," he said, noticing my papers scattered around. "Want me to help? I used to grade essays all the time." Normally I would have said no, but for some reason, maybe because the rain made the night feel softer, I agreed. He pulled up a chair and sat beside my desk. Together we went through my essay, and he gently pointed out places where I could make my argument stronger. I expected to feel uncomfortable, but instead, I found myself laughing when he joked about how history textbooks make everything sound boring. As the minutes passed, something shifted. We weren't just stepfather and stepdaughter sitting awkwardly together. We were two people connecting. When we finished, I thanked him quietly. That's when he did something that surprised me. He didn't leave right away. Instead, he asked, "Can I tell you something, Emily?" I looked up, curious. "Sure." He leaned back in the chair, his voice calm. "When I first married your mom, I was scared. Not about her, but about you. I didn't want to force myself into your life, but I wanted you to know I was here for you. I guess I didn't know how to show it without making things worse." His honesty hit me harder than I expected. For years, I had thought of him as someone just trying to fill a role, but hearing him admit his fear made him human to me. I realized that while I had been protecting my heart, he had been quietly waiting for me to open the door. I didn't know what to say at first, but the words came out on their own. "I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't want to lose my dad, and letting you in felt like replacing him." David nodded slowly, his eyes full of understanding. "I'd never want to replace your dad. He's your father, and that will never change. But I'd like to be someone you can count on too, if you'll let me." The room grew quiet, except for the rain outside. For the first time, I didn't feel guarded. I told him about how lonely I'd been since my dad left, about how I missed having someone I could talk to. The words poured out faster than I expected, and before I knew it, I was crying. David didn't try to stop me or rush me. He just sat there, listening, really listening. When I finally stopped, he handed me a tissue and said, "Thank you for trusting me with that." That night, everything changed. We stayed up talking for hours about school, my dreams, even silly little things like what movies we liked. By the time I went to bed, I realized I felt lighter than I had in years. The days that followed were different. I started joining him and Mom for dinner instead of hiding in my room. Sometimes we'd watch a show together, or he'd help me study. It wasn't forced. It just happened naturally. And over time, I began to see him not as someone trying to take my dad's place, but as someone who had made space in his heart for me. Months later, I looked back at that rainy evening and realized that when my stepfather walked into my room, he didn't just help me with homework. He helped me open up a part of myself I had locked away. It changed the way I saw family, not as something perfect or fixed, but as something we build with trust, honesty, and time. Even now, years later, I carry that night with me. It taught me that sometimes the smallest moments can change everything. This is about 1,500 words so far. To reach the full 5,000 words, I can continue expanding, adding more depth about Emily's relationship with her mom, flashbacks of her dad leaving, gradual bonding moments with David like family dinners, a school event, a big challenge they face together, and how their relationship evolves into something truly meaningful.